What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Redonkulous Gaming. We've got some changes to Fodder and the Flame for the Vengeance Demon Hunter and the Havoc Demon Hunter. And overall, responses have been underwhelming. People are not necessarily happy with these changes, and I have to admit, I myself, I read through them, and I was underwhelmed. And it was really unfortunate, because if you go way back to when we did the original videos where we broke out each Covenant ability by tank, I really felt like Fodder to the Flame had the potential needed, especially as a Vengeance Demon Hunter, but that it was just lacking everything that the Demon Hunter class brings. And to me, that's mobility and the ability to really kind of calm a bit of what can be a cluster, whether that's a bad dungeon pull, a bad boss pull, or just needing to pick up aggro real quick, whatever it may be. That mobility really comes in handy. And when you have an ability like Fodder to the Flame that is something that is really, really cool thematically, but doesn't necessarily serve functionally, you've got a problem. So I think what a lot of people wanted to see, and what I myself wanted to see, was keeping the demon mechanic, because again, thematically, it fits pretty darn well. But then making it so that all you had to do was potentially step back into the pool, and that way you would then get your 10% haste buff and your 10% damage mitigation buff, and you could carry that with you for 5 to 6 seconds, and then you could dip your toe back into the pool and continue to get it, so that you just don't have to stay still the entire time, and therefore giving up the one thing that you really do better than anyone else as Demon Hunter, and that is just your mobility and your overall class functionality in that regard. Well, after playing the new Fodder to the Flame on beta, I have to say that this is actually greatly improved from the state that it was before. And you're probably going to think I'm a little nuts, but let's first take a look at the blue post that went along with the changes that were called out. So Blizzard says here that we changed Fodder to the Flame in this week's Shadowlands beta build. The primary feedback we received concerning this ability was the constraint of the demon pool, particularly for Havoc. I couldn't agree more. Obviously, we just said that. Though it is a considerable limitation to the ability, deciding where to place the benefit is a unique characteristic of the ability compared to other Covenants. I also do agree with that and their line of thinking there, but again, it's just not functional. You can still place a pool and then carry a temporary buff with you to force yourself to go back to that pool. I think that would make it so much better. Now, they go on to say, but we realize that demon hunters do not want to be confined to a specific location for a long time, so we're shortening the duration of the pool and limiting its benefit to damage reduction, while also increasing the offensive benefit of Demon Soul. Thank you for your feedback. Alright, so here's my feedback. And you can see in the lower left-hand corner, I've got the old Fodder to the Flame and the new Fodder to the Flame. And where this previously worked before was you would get the buff by standing in the pool. Like, it would affect you, your character. So you would receive 10% less damage, and you would receive 10% increased haste. That is now changed to the point where enemies that stand in the pool deal 15% less damage to you. So, calling all Vengeance Demon Hunters, this is the major rework, is that wherever the pool is, you have to put enemies in the pool to get that mitigation. Now, when you split the Demon Soul, it's actually doing a lot more damage, so calling all Havoc, and then this is also important for Vengeance as well, but you're actually doing 25% increased damage for 15 seconds. So the pool is up for 15 seconds, and then it's up to you when you consume that Demon Soul. And the Demon Soul will pop out as a, kind of a green soul. Let me go ahead and show you guys here. Alright, so this boss is the last one on, I'm doing Torghast, obviously, so this is the last boss for the floor that I'm on. So what I did is I went ahead and I activated Fodder to the Flame, I weakened the demon, and then I had the pool drop right where the boss is. You can see the green soul kind of hanging out there. That is my demon soul that I need to consume. So I fell rush over to it, I consume it, I wait for his AoE to go off, and now I just start to pump and do extra damage. So I've got roughly 10 seconds of uptime where I'm doing 25% increased damage on the boss. When the pool goes away, that's the end of the damage reduction, and then you're able to maintain the Demon Soul buff, which just fell off, for, like I said, 15 seconds total. So it gives you a window where you can pop cooldowns, you can align trinkets, you can do whatever you need to do where you know you're going to be dealing a baseline 25% increased damage. So that's the substantial change, is that the pool drops wherever you kill it, and then it's placed on you. So wherever your positioning is, you then, if you're able to keep enemies in that position, you're generally in pretty good shape. So we'll go ahead and go back here, and again you can kind of see, let's see if I can get it back to where we're going to be dropping the actual pool. So we'll go ahead and see this pool again, and this gives you a really good idea of how this is now functioning, because it's no longer just dropping where the demon dies. So I get him down low, I kill him from a distance, I drop the pool right on top of the enemy. They then receive the debuff, so they're doing 15% less damage. I get hit like a dummy in the AoE stun, but I'm able to Fel Rush over to my soul. I get my 25% increased damage. I'm still keeping him in position for the damage mitigation. Pool runs out. My buff is still up from eating that Demon Soul, so it is definitely a rework talent to the point where it is much more functional. And as a tank, you're not going to be, if you're moving around too much anyway, you're going to piss off your DPS and your healer. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I think this thing has some potential. It's not the change that I was looking for and that a lot of us were looking for, but it's still a change in the right direction. So what I would say is that the tooltip is reading very poorly right now. That's what I can tell you. The tooltip is very unfortunate. Maybe I'm nuts, but I just think that this thing is what is probably causing more grief, at least on the forums and in terms of people being able to react to it, than what is required. So I'll go ahead and read it here. Commission a demon duel, right? That's kind of what you need to know. You kill your foe, it releases an empowered demon soul, and that's that green soul that we're able to pick up, and creates a pool of demon blood for 15 seconds, reducing the damage enemies deal within the pool. Again, within the pool, they have to be standing within the pool, by 15%. Fleshcraft, of course, has that same interaction as it did before, so it will treat the demon as a powerful enemy, and it'll give you a stronger shield overall with your signature Covenant ability, Fleshcraft. So that's kind of nice. That interaction is always great. If Blizzard decides to go live with this iteration, I would say that they definitely need to do something with the cooldown of this thing, because when you think about the uptime, and that's what's going to become important, especially for min-maxers and people that, you know, look at this thing and say, okay, this has potential, they're going to need to probably reduce this down to a minute and a half or a minute cooldown to make it much more worth everyone's while. Now, that might be a little too strong for Havoc, just with the amount of damage you can pump out with a 25% damage increase over 15 seconds, because you're talking about 25% uptime then if it's a minute-long cooldown. But then you kind of balance maybe and nerf the overall damage increase that you're getting. So there has to be a bit more balance in terms of the cooldown. But I actually think this is in a much better place, and it's probably unpopular opinion right now. Maybe I'm trying to be all sunshine, gumdrops, and rainbows, I'm not sure. But I think this one actually is much better than it was, and they only tweaked it slightly. There's certainly some nuance here, but again, this is all about, you know, doing things a little bit differently. Blizzard wants you to have meaningful choice. I think if someone really wants to go Necrolords, you can make this work, whether you're Havoc or whether you're Vengeance, and that's what this is all about. Anyway, would love to know your comments on this. I think this is one that's very polarizing, because you have the people who are able to actually test this thing in motion, and then those who are able to kind of just read this on a forum post and say, yeah, I hate this. I was that same way. Again, I looked at it and I'm like, yes, I hate this, and then I'm like, I need to test this thing, and after testing it, functionally it works a lot better than I thought. I will say that Demon Soul sometimes, it's very unfortunate where it's dropped, because you almost consume it immediately, even if you don't mean to. So that is something where I almost wish Blizzard would move that out a little bit further. But then again, you will have the Vengeance Demon Hunters that are like, no, I don't want to be running all around trying to get my Demon Soul. I want to be able to consume it and have it handy. In which case, I would say they probably just need to look at where that thing's dropping and make sure that it's far enough away from your feet to the point where you're just not automatically consuming it the second it drops. But again, would love to know your comments and feedback.